And now please join me in welcoming David Hochschild, who will introduce our next honoree, Alice Waters.
So just a word about Bernard. I think when we lose someone extraordinary, it is important that we mourn, but it's even more important that we live better because of their legacy and carry on that spirit. And so one of the things that he showed is that business can be a force for good. My wife, Dr. Cynthia Lee, was a Kaiser doctor at Kaiser Hayward and Kaiser San Francisco, and can tell you personally that Kaiser has been a force for good. And that's an example for us all. So let's all commit to that tonight, to be a force for good going forward in his memory. Secondly, Willie Brown spoke a little while ago. He was my former boss, used to work for him when he was mayor. He was the only mayor of a major American city who left his home phone number listed in the white pages. True story, true story. Woman calls him at 3 in the morning to complain that her street light is out. He takes down the information, gets it fixed, and the next morning he set his alarm for 3 in the morning, calls her back and says it's fixed. So I confess I feel a bit like my job tonight has been outsourced because I've been asked to introduce a woman who needs no introduction. Alice Waters is a legend in the Bay Area, but we all know the truth that she's actually an American legend, an American treasure, and we're so proud of her. She taught us that something beautiful and something powerful can happen at the dinner table. And that when we answer the question, the simple question of what am I going to eat tonight, that actually something very beautiful can be born from that. She taught us that when we're answering that question, what we're actually doing is we're voting. We're voting on what kind of food system we want for ourselves, for the country. Do we want a food system that's based on local, organic, seasonal, healthy food from local farmers, or do we want to support a food system that's based on corporate, mega farms that are keeping animals in closed confines and packing them full of chemicals? And that there is actually a very elegant alignment of what is healthy for people and healthy for the environment and healthy for animals. And she taught us that. And in a moment when our country and all of us in our culture often feel too disconnected and too busy, she taught us the value of slowing down and coming together. So I want to raise your hand tonight if you have had dinner at Chez Panisse. Okay. Looks like most of us here. But even if you haven't, first of all, those of you who haven't, you have your assignment. Go do that. But even if you haven't, you have actually been influenced by that already, because she created not just a restaurant, she created a movement. This is how you do food right in America. And the experience of walking in there, you sit down and you feel this sense of peace and beauty and connection, and amazing food. And you know what? It's medicine for the soul. And I am happy to share the news that in just a year and a half, Chez Panisse will celebrate its 50th anniversary. But perhaps Alice's greatest legacy is what she's now doing for children and for the challenge we all face with climate change. She has a vision which began with edible schoolyards, bringing in gardens to schools, and I spoke earlier tonight with Mayor Libby Schaaf, who described an asphalt pavement in a public school in Oakland that was taken up, and they planted fruit orchards because of your legacy. That's the kind of thing that's going on across the state because of you. But her vision right now, which we should all get behind and all commit to help, is to provide a healthy, organic lunch to every single student in every public school in the state of California. And when we do that, because of the important role that climate-friendly land management can play, we're actually also helping to solve the crisis of climate change. And Alice, you're an inspiration to me. You're an inspiration to all of us. So I want to ask everybody to please raise your glasses to the conscience of the American food system, the Queen of Green, Alice Waters. Thank you all.
She doesn't lead a Fortune 500 company. She operates her business out of a modest 2-story wood shingled building in a quiet Berkeley neighborhood. She doesn't have CEO in her title. Her business doesn't issue stock options or dividends. And her workforce numbers in the dozens, not the thousands or tens of thousands. Alice Waters may not fit the mold of a typical business titan, but there are few leaders who have had the enormous transformative impact on their industry as she has over the past almost 50 years.
I just never worried if I got paid or I had enough sleep or if I was living any kind of normal life. Nothing else mattered except finding food that these people in the dining room would love. And that was it.
Waters launched her now legendary restaurant Chez Panisse in 1971 with the idea of bringing together friends and family to share fresh, healthful, good-tasting food that was simply prepared, like the locally grown, seasonal foods she had come to cherish while studying in France years earlier.
We were looking for the food that tasted like what I had eaten in France. I do think about those first years as being pretty crazy and very intense, but I had a passion to make this thing work and to get people to like what we were cooking for them. I was just intent on it.
With her soft but irrepressible charm, steamroller-like work ethic, and uncompromising focus on quality, Waters was quickly elevating a nascent slow food movement into a global phenomenon.
She has, I think, done more to change our eating habits for the better than anyone in the United States of America.
Chez Panisse was the fountainhead of that movement, but the early years weren't easy.
I absolutely believed that if I was doing something that was really tasty and good, that people would come. And I wasn't thinking about making money. Never. Of course, we didn't make any money for about 8 years. And my friends had to take care of me, but we ultimately did. But that was never the first concern. In fact, it was really the last.
The litany of renowned chefs and other culinary professionals who honed their craft in the Chez Panisse kitchen and later achieved their own fame would help spread her farm-to-table philosophy. Waters has sown her message through numerous award-winning cookbooks and other books that have inspired new generations of consumers to embrace a closer connection with their food and the earth that produces it. From heads of state to royalty to the Dalai Lama, she has welcomed world leaders to her kitchen and garden and worked to reform national school lunch standards to include more organic, locally grown foods. And both she and Chez Panisse have earned dozens of awards and honors for the indelible mark they have left on the food and culinary world, including being the first woman to win the prestigious James Beard Award.
It is my privilege to present these medals.
Alice Waters.
Waters even persuaded a U.S. President and First Lady to get their hands dirty, planting a vegetable garden at the White House. But it was a bleak expanse of playground at a middle school just blocks from Chez Panisse that would really establish Waters' legacy as a food revolutionary and pioneer. Working with the school's principal, Waters helped turn the desolate plot into a thriving organic garden and an abandoned cafeteria into an educational kitchen.
What we're trying to do here at the Edible Schoolyard with Edible Education is to bring food into the context of nature and culture. That's where all the beauty and meaning is.
From that one school, the Edible School Project has spread to more than 6,000 kitchen and garden programs in 42 states and 14 countries, reaching more than 1 million students annually. And if Waters has anything to say about it, those numbers will continue to grow and flourish.
I really think that this program needs to be in every school in the country. It needs to begin in kindergarten, even in preschool, way back, so they can begin planting the seeds and that they grow up with this understanding. I call it a delicious revolution. We hope to influence public education, hopefully a model that can go around the world.
You know, I've had my fair share of good meals around the country, and I try and meet the chef and their team. And whenever they learn I'm from San Francisco and I know Alice Waters, they give me a kind of firm handshake when they leave, because I think they think that when they touch the hand that touched the hand of Alice Waters, they've got a little edge. So, Alice, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you, David, for that beautiful introduction. And thank all of you and the council. I have to say that I have never received an award for business leadership ever. And I've never thought of Chepanese as really as a business. It's always been for me a place like a family, and I've always run it like that, that whenever we had a choice of making money or doing the right thing, we tried to do the right thing. We never made decisions that had to do with really with making money. I just am lucky that we did. I'm lucky that we did. But what we are trying to do is come into a new relationship to food. And I think the fact that I was so inexperienced, none of us had really worked in a restaurant. I mean, I was a waiter for a little bit, but we had no experience in this. We were kind of intellectual cooks, and I just fell in love with food in France and the values that came with that food. And I came back here and I said, I want to live my life like that. And I said, I know it has something to do with food. And if we had a little restaurant, we could all meet there, all my friends, and we could eat together, and it was going to be very affordable. And unfortunately, when it opened, it was full from the beginning, and I never saw my friends again. So I had to hire them. And that's one of the most important things I've done, is hired my friends. Because I didn't want to be working with people that I didn't have a rapport with, that I didn't really want to spend time with. And I didn't want to work in a place that wasn't beautiful and inspiring. I'm so glad we have a view out the front to the west, and we have the sun come in the afternoon to the restaurant. And it makes everybody feel like they're in a Vermeer painting. And I could never have imagined that kind of beauty from nature. But it's every year we decide, do we want to do it again? Can we keep it alive? Are we passionate about what we're doing? And every year, really for 48 years, we have decided that we do. And of course, the project that we are involved in for the edible schoolyard is, I hope it's going to be revealed here in the state of California, that we can really give every child a free, regenerative, that's the new word, it's not sustainable,
It's regenerative school lunch. That's the dream. We need all your help. But thank you.